A goal without a plan is just a wish. And that's by Saint Exupery, who wrote The Little Prince, and which is one of my favorite inspirational fables stories. So, welcome again to the Profitable Photographer, and I'm Luci Dumas still. And today I'm doing a solo conversation with you about how I prepare and how I photograph a session so that I have the results I'm looking for, both super happy clients, great photographs that I'm loving, and big sales. And so today we're talking about structure. You can always find information from me about how to do great sales. And I do have a talk about how I find beautiful natural light. I'm a fan of natural light. Luckily, in San Diego, we have a lot of sunshine. And because I photograph kids a lot, I've just never been excited about having to have extra lighting. And I just love finding light. So that's my thing. I will bring it if I need to, but it does take some planning. It does take some understanding about how to find great outdoor light. And it is not about praying for an overcast day and going out in the middle of a field, unless you're going to lay people on their back, because the lighting is not directed into the face, which is what I love to see is beautiful catch lights at 2 or 10 o'clock. Anyway, I do have a show on that you can look back if you want to hear what I have to say about that. All right. So because I've been photographing for umpty-dumpty-dump years, and primarily in my last, I'd say 10, 15 years, I've done more outdoor with children and families. If I do little kids, I like to either be in their home or in the studio. But I've found that more and more, I just love going outdoors. And so I've learned a lot. And one of the things that I have had a habit since the beginning is every time I do a session, I analyze what went well and what I could have improved on. And one thing is, I always bring an assistant. Always is a big word. So, there's the occasion when I can't find one, but generally I have had assistants that will work with me regularly so that then together we can kind of collaborate on some things they can do to help me. It's also a way to make it more fun. And also, the less you carry yourself, the less you're going to regret when you're in those senior years. So um, that's part of my pre-planning, finding a great assistant that takes good direction and that is friendly and helpful. All right. So when I work with a client and we decide what we're doing, where we're doing it, then I have a conversation about pre-planning, things that they need to do in advance that make everything go more smoothly. Um, I have a talk on the 7 or 8 basic needs of children, and those also apply to us. So we need to address those too. And the needs are to be healthy, rested, comfortable, um, not afraid, whatever's the opposite of that, physically comfortable, entertained, not bored, fed. Um, I can't remember the others. Boom, boom, boom. But the needs are important. And if we take care of those in advance, as we help plan the day, everything goes more smoothly. For example, I always ask them to bring some snacks that are secret snacks and not candy and not colorful, so that when their blood sugar goes down, especially with kids, we take a little break and they have a snack. It could be a little sandwich, it could be cheese and crackers, it could be some fruit, but it needs to be secret because if they know there's food, they're going to want it right away, and that is not good. Um, they also need to have the day before and the day of be a low stress day. So no trips to the zoo or um, we try to plan it so that let's say they're elementary school kids, that they didn't have a game, if they're in soccer or softball or something, that they didn't use up a lot of energy. So planning on that. As much as possible, I don't photograph kids if they're not feeling well. We want them to be comfortable. So even if they wear like light, cool things, they want to bring some sweaters and things so that if it gets chilly, they can be comfortable because I plan a couple of hours for a session. Uh, Sometimes I'm done sooner, sometimes it goes over, depending on the location, if we're having fun, how the light goes, you know, all of those things. More is more to me. Let's see. So the other thing in prep is I tell them kids are usually brats on picture day because parents, especially moms, are stressed. And if you are upset with them on the way, and especially if you threaten something, they're not going to smile. They're not going to be happy. So I advise them chill if they're being difficult. And then later, if you feel like you need to, have a consequence, uh, go for that. But just to know that even the most amazing kids that are usually always along with things uh, might act up because they're like little sponges. Um, okay. So scheduling when we meet is important. And so, first of all, the time of day, if possible, with little children, I'll ask about their nap schedule and I'll try to get them in a location where there's good morning light for most kids. Um, Here in San Diego, I can see it. If I could see around a building across the street, I have Balboa Park. It has these beautiful hallways and different areas that, as long as the sun is out, I can shoot there. So, when possible, I try to work around their nap schedule so kids are not so tired. But I also want to have great light. So, if we're picking a location like the beach, I meet with them 2 hours ahead because we might have nice light, a little bit overcast right away, and then it socks in. Sometimes it's called June gloom or May gray, and the lighting stinks. And that's when I'd have to pull out some flash photography or something. So also, if I know that I need to absolutely start photographing at a certain time, I meet up a half hour earlier because people get lost. People, um, bring too many things, or, even traffic might happen with any of us. So I never book a time that is like, we have to meet at this exact time. Let's see. Okay, so I always ask my clients what is the most important one or two combinations and images that I need to get in case that's all we can get. And especially if there's a toddler, sometimes you just cannot get them past being the terrible twos. And I'm going to tell you in a minute one of my secrets about toddlers. But once I know and I've gotten that in the photo session, then I've got my list of other possibilities. So if they say a family portrait and the kids together, I'm going to do both of those right away. But then as I'm working and as I'm moving through a location, so if it's in the park and we're starting in one spot, I also know where I can go to next, where the light will be different, the background is different, and I have a whole plan on that. Sometimes I find things I never thought of before. Light is always changing. Probably we all know that. I don't know how many years I photographed until it was really clear to me that this was perfect at 5:30 in March. But in January, or well, of course, in January it would be dark at 5:30 here. But let's say in July, the sun has moved to a different location. So that lighting is not going to be the same. There's one spot where I had a family under a tree and their back was turned to the sun, and there was a building off to my right that reflected light into their faces. And it was an amazing photograph. And I've never been there that same day of the year to and had the sunshine just the same to be able to imitate that. Uh, so anywho, learn about times of day and so forth. Also, the sky is going to be different every time. So I used to scout locations with a plan if it's someplace new. But then I would get there and it would be overcast or it would be sunny or some variation, and that would change everything. So we want to be resourceful. It's good to know like the hardscape of a place in advance, and it's good to have a plan, but also it's great to improvise. It's more like jazz than, I don't know, rock and roll. For example, in my neighborhood, there's this little park, and there's a thick bank of trees on the east side of the park that has an opening. And then the sun goes down, of course, on the west side of the park. And so I will start a session in that bank of trees because I know I'll get beautiful light coming into their face if we don't go too deep into the forest. And there's some little pathways on that side. Um, and um, and I'll do, as I said, I will do the family group and kids together. And then in that location, I will also do single kids and the parents together and, sitting, standing, different things. And then I move to the center of that park where there's some areas where it's good for solos because I can turn their back to the sun and there's enough solid vegetation behind them that I can get some really nice shots, but there's light bouncing up into their face as well. And so I'll do some solos and some different things. And then I move to, in this park, to the west end. And as the sun is going down and the light's getting softer, there's different angles because it's kind of a curve. So I can put them under a tree at this one angle and I'm going to get beautiful, um, kind of like Rembrandty lighting on their face. And then there's a hill that once the sun is almost down, it kind of looks like Tuscany, and I can put them there all with natural light. Um, and again, I'm doing variety. Now, my favorite lenses, I know people love bokeh, but my experience, people want faces sharp. So I'm fine with f4 lenses because they're lighter and they're about a third the price. And if you get a good quality one, you're going to get good results. So I was a Canon shooter primarily. I'm moving into Sony because I'm not fond of Canon's mirrorless. But I like the 24 to 105 full frame f4 L series, and then the 70 to 200, uh, the good one, f4 as well. And I have two cameras going, so I can do zooms and close-ups. Let's say I've got one scene that I've posed people. I can do like have them look off to the right and have all the trees and all the beauty. and all the light, and they're small. And then I can get them to look at the camera, maybe lean towards me and get their full bodies uh, for a classic family. Here's the family portraits. Then I can get them to all cuddle in tight and I can zoom even closer and just get all their faces together. And I can do that with the camera on my tripod without a change of anything. And I love that variety because I've just created potentially three wall portraits that look very different without moving. I believe in a tripod. Number one, it's good not to carry stuff all the time. Number two, I see more of what's going on when I'm not looking through a lens. And number three, they see me and I get reactions and I clown and I can play with little toys and props and things that if I'm holding a camera, it's hard to get that natural reaction. And a real expression comes through the eyes, not a smile, just a smile. So I love a tripod. Uh, at a certain point, like my 70 to 200 usually, that's when I'll grab and I'll do a quick zoom in. Because again, like if we go, there were those three. Well, then in this family session, grouping, if I see that like a child is leaning on daddy's shoulder, I can grab my lens that has the 200 and I can zoom in on just that child with the obvious shoulder, and that's another wall portrait potential. So I'm always looking at variety, and for me, changing lenses in the middle of it, having a fixed lens, or yeah, fixed lens, um, it just slows me down. Now, I had Hasselblad. My favorite lens there was a 120 because I could come close enough to the kids with that they could hear me. The 150 is really more of a classic portrait lens, but the 120 was a great compromise for me. Also, my studio is not very big, so I didn't have to uh, go as far back into the kitchen as I needed to. All right, so let's see. Um, One thing that we do, because a lot of times people will be like, oh, we better go work fast because the kids are going to be done. Well, for me, I plan it like an adventure. And I know how to push kids just to the edge of when they can give me what I need. And then we take a break and we have some blood sugar. So the other nice thing about having my assistant with me is I can do mom and dad together, depending on the ages of the kids, while the kids are having little snacks. And my helper, by this time, they're comfortable with her or him. So she can make sure the kids don't, uh, you know, jump off cliffs or, whatever. Or even like a lot of times the kids will want to get in the picture with mom and dad. But I use my time wisely. And what else? Oh, and I always have backups of everything. It scares me to think of how many photographers go to events, could be weddings or could be family shoots, baby portraits, and they only have one camera. And there is going to come a day when that camera breaks. And I bet you it's going to be the time when everyone was in town for just one day, or even with a baby, if you get back together a week later, they change so fast that you want to be able to be the hero. So I think that is the tips I have on that. Oh, I'll throw in some toys. So um, you want toys and other things that entertain them that are not weird colors. Uh, I used to get kids to smile at me with the Barney puppet. This goes way back. Those kids now have kids of their own. But uh, then they always want to hold the puppet. So you do not want toys that are bright colors, because sometimes you just have to let them have it. So I pack little bunnies and little white bears, beige bunnies, white bears. Sometimes with children, just them having something to hold. Like first, I'll use the bunny as entertainment. I'll put it on my head. I'll sit it on the camera. We'll bounce it along. But then I'll put it in their hands, and that will sometimes keep them from wiggling around or their hands being places that aren't not photogenic. Um, I have a wiffle ball. And so one of the games that I'll play is how long can I balance this on my head? And my helper will be just behind me, and I'll put the ball on my head, but she'll put her finger through, and I hold my hands out, and we start counting. Um, and sometimes they know it's a trick, and sometimes they don't. So that's a little game. Um, what else? In the studio, I have a long feather duster that has never dusted anything, and I call it the tickle monster. And that has been a really fun tool. Even like sometimes the tickle monster tickles their parents that are off camera, um, and not them. Uh, so just the word gets them excited. My favorite word at a session is for them to say yes. Cheese is not a good word. People don't smile at cheese. And also counting. I don't know why people say one, two, three. Now, I guess in a big group, when you're trying to make sure everybody's looking at you, it can be useful. But I can smile really nicely on one. But if I have to hold it to three, my cheeks start jiggling and I do not look natural. But if you get me in place and then you have me say yes, yes gives me a feeling that shows in the eyes. And it also helps pull up the sides into a smile. So that's a good word. My emergency word is monkey. And see, it just made me laugh just saying the word. So just the word makes people kind of feel happy. And then if it didn't affect them, then I start making monkey noises. And that helps too. So I'm sure I have about 100 more tips. um, I'm going to pause one sec just in case I'm leaving out something that I think could totally rock your world. So hold on. Okay, so one of the things I teach over and over all the time is the importance of becoming the trusted advisor. And that is one of the reasons I like to meet with them in person or at least have a Zoom meeting where they understand we're going to need their attention for at least half an hour, 45 minutes to go over all of the details. Um, Including, and I haven't mentioned this, but I give them clothing advice, and it's not a fashion show. I want the clothes to be timeless and blend together for everyone, and at the same time, be color tones that go with the background and that could be art in their home that goes with their decor. So solid colors, no prints or stripes or things like that. Long sleeves, or at least until the elbows. Um, Babies can have short sleeves and their little legs can stick out, but uh, after kids are about 8 years old, um, their arms and legs get kind of gangly, and we don't want to see the body parts. We want to see the faces. We want to see the love. That being said, a spaghetti strap on a woman is good, fine, because our eye goes to skin. So with a spaghetti strap, you're going to start with the hand, you're going to go up the arm, and then you will go to the face. But if it's short sleeve, you go up the arm and then you stop at that sleeve, and your eye doesn't know where to look next. Um, and colors that blend together. Sometimes I have them put the clothing on their couch and take a picture. and show me. So that's part of building that trusted advisor. I've had people just load up their trunks, like let's decide on the bottoms and then we'll figure out the the tops or the overtops in advance. So that's uh, part of the planning that helps make things go well. Um, so I think that was it. And I always will prepare them for potential wall art. So while I'm at a session, I might be like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This might be the one we're putting over the fireplace. So I that's a whole other lesson about how to plant those great seeds so that they order really well. But the reason I brought that all up, going back to becoming the trusted advisor. And once we do that, we are in the leadership position and they follow our guidance. And that makes everything go more smoothly. So that's it for today. And stay tuned for more amazing guests and, take some look backs because I have 300 plus episodes, both me sharing my little heart out and my guests, incredible guests. I can't believe I've spoken to over 200 people and like pulled out their genius. But yeah, a lot of cool people. So, anywho, that's it for now. And see you next time.